Okay guys, so obviously when we're on the golf course, we don't always hit the green with our first or second or third shot. Sometimes we're going to miss the green and the ball is in a situation where we're close to the green but on the edge. So we can't use the putter in many instances. Sometimes we can, but it's much better to either play a chip shot or a pitch shot. Now when we play a chip shot, we're going to use something like a 7-iron. If we're playing a pitch shot, we're going to use something like a wedge, which has a little bit more loft on the club face. An easy way for me to kind of demonstrate the loft of the club, this is the 7-iron. It's just to kind of lean it on the ground and put your foot on the club face, and this gives you a clear picture of the trajectory or the flight in which the ball will leave the club face. So here it's quite low, so it's going to be in the air for a little bit and then it's going to run or release to the hole. So a nice way to think about it when you're playing a chip shot, it's got 50% air time, 50% ground time. Whereas with your wedge, it's a slightly different angle. It's a more lofted club. So you can now see the angle here, or the trajectory, is much higher. Okay, so it kind of changes the percentages. It's going to have 70% air time and 30% ground time, maybe even less than that. So it lands softly and stops. There's not a lot of roll with this shot. So depending on the scenario or the situation you're in, choosing which club to play is important. If there's no hazards, no bunkers or no long grass or nothing in the way between you and the flag, it's probably best to play the little 7-iron chip and run. But if there's a bunker here, long grass, or even some type of water hazard, we need to get the ball up and over that hazard in order to get it close to the flag. So choosing the correct club is important. Now we're going to talk a little bit about the technique, and before we do that we'll talk about our setup. So how should we stand and how should we position the ball in our stance? So we're going to start with the 7-iron. Okay, and we're going to play the chip and run shot. So we chip it and the ball runs to the hole. I like to use what I call a short game stance. Very simple, where we have a club head width between the right and left foot. We also have the front foot, in my case my left foot, pull back a club head. Now you might ask me, why would I pull this club head back? And the foot back, and the simple answer really is it allows my hands and arms to swing through. In the full swing, if you remember from the earlier sections of the DVD, as we come into impact, the hips naturally open. So that naturally happens with the full swing. But because we're only making a short swing, we have to preset that position. Otherwise, we would get trapped and snagged, and it would be very difficult to play a nice shot to the hole. Okay, so the next thing we're going to look at is our ball position. And I like to kind of play these shots with the ball positioned close to the right heel, the inside of the right foot. Okay, that ball position will help us get a nice contact on the ball and get it rolling nicely towards the flag or the pin. So let's give it a go. So stance is good, foot position is good, ball position is good. We get the club squarely behind the ball. Now what you'll notice I've done now, I haven't held the club at the top. You can see my elbows are sticking out. I've allowed my hands and arms to hang naturally from my shoulders. So I'm actually gripping almost towards the bottom of the club. Okay, so we're going to look at a little bit of the action. So we're going to kind of keep the wrists and arms working back pretty firm. Not a lot of body movement here. And then we're going to let the chest and body turn through and towards the target. So it's going to produce a nice consistent strike, and we'll get the ball rolling towards the hole. That was a nice shot. Things to avoid would be controlling these types of shot with the wrists. You're going to thin the ball or hit the top of the ball, or controlling the shot too much by driving the hands and arms forward, you'll probably hit behind the ball and it'll go way too far past the hole. Okay, so making sure the back swing's more of a hand and arm movement and the through swing's more of a body turn towards the target. That's the most consistent way to play this shot. Okay, then moving on. So I'm going to move on to our wedge shot, or our pitch shot, which is the higher, softer shot, which flies the majority of the way and runs very little. So in terms of the stance, it's exactly the same. Okay, club head apart, front foot is a club head back. Again, that allows us to move the hands and arms through, and it allows the body to turn nicely. Ball position, again, we can maybe play it more center, a little bit further forward in the stance compared to, say, the 7-iron. And we can also grip down the club so that the arms are hanging naturally. Okay, now from here, the backswing. We can keep the wrist firm and we can turn through. That would give me probably a very short shot because it's not rolling a lot. So a lot of the time when we're pitching the ball, we need to make a slightly longer backswing. So we've got 3 positions to work off. We've got firm wrists, where the butt end of the club is looking at my center. We've got where we soften the wrists a little bit, where the butt end of the club is looking more at the target. That will give me a slightly longer shot. And then we've got the 3rd position, where we set the wrists fully, where the butt end of the club is looking at the ball. This will give me an even longer shot. Okay, so we control the distance, similar to putting, by the length of the backstroke. Okay, but for this particular shot I've got here, I probably need to maybe just soften the wrists a little bit in the backswing, but I'm still going to let the chest and body turn through. Okay, so let's give it a go. That was a nice shot. So that one flew 70% of the way, ran a little bit, but it stopped nice and close to the pin. Okay, so follow these simple rules, perfect your chipping, perfect your pitching, and you'll really shoot some good scores.